Welcome to Audiobook da Morgan. Today's reading is Utz, chapter 23. But before we start, please subscribe on my channel and press the button to activate notifications.
Chapter 23. In the afternoon, the clouds came up and it began to rain. He lay down in his room and read some pages of a novel by Guige. His French was inadequate. He lost the thread of the narrative. He put the book aside and stared vacantly at the chandelier. Why, he asked himself, when he had steeled himself to the horrors of war and revolution, should the free word present so frightening an abyss? Why, each time he sank onto the mattress, did he have the sensation of falling, like the elevator, through the floors of the hotel? In Prague, he slept soundly. Why did sleep elude him here? He would lie awake and fret over his finances. In Czechoslovaquia, he had no finances to speak of, or none that he could lay his hands on. Now, at 2 and 3 in the morning, he would spread his share certificates over the bedspread and tot up the figures of his portfolio, searching for a flaw, a mistake, trying to explain why, in a rising stock market, his fortune in Switzerland had shrunk. Why, with enormous sums invested, were the sums on paper so small? Someone, somewhere, was cheating him, taking advantage while his back was turned. But who? And how? From the same bookshop he had bought a pocket atlas of the world, and leafing through its pages, he tried to imagine the country he'd like to live in, or rather, the country that would make him least unhappy. Switzerland, Italy, France, 3 possibilities, none of them inviting. Germany, never. The break had been final. England, not after the Dresden raid. The United States, impossible. The noise would depress him dreadfully. Prague, after all, was the city where you heard the snowflakes falling. Australia, he had never been attracted by the colonies. Argentina, he was too old to tangle. The more he considered the alternatives, the clearer the solution seemed to him. Not that he would be happy in Czechoslovakia. He would be harassed, menaced, insulted. He would have to grovel. He would have to agree with every word they said. He would mouth their meaningless, ungrammatical formula. He would learn to live within the lie. But Prague was a city that suited his melancholic temperament. A state of tranquil melancholy was all one could aspire to these days. And for the first time, grudgingly, he felt he could admire his Czech compatriots. Not for their decision to vote in a Marxist government. Any fool knew by now that Marxism was a winded philosophy. He admired the abstemiousness of their choice. He continued to stare at the idiotic chandelier, turning over in his mind the most troublesome question of all. He was desperately homesick, yet hadn't given a thought for the porcelains. He could only think of Marta alone in the apartment. That concludes chapter 23.